Hi there guys, and welcome back to another episode of NoCritsGiven. I'm going to start off by apologising that there's been a bit of a hiatus and we've sort of not been putting a video out for a couple of weeks, but if there's anyone to blame, it's this person right here. Took himself away on holiday, enjoying the...
Okay, if we're going to get into it, when you had a week off, I still got an episode out. Alright, the studio and all the equipment are at my house.
Yeah. I didn't know where I stood on breaking in and just helping myself to your house.
There's a joke about you breaking my stuff, but I know you don't like me bringing that up. So.
I broke one glass. But there we go.
There we are. Hi!
But welcome back to another episode of NoCritsGiven. I'm Joe. As always, that's Ben.
Yeah, it's me.
Today...
Yeah, we had a thought early on. If you remember a couple of weeks back, we had an idea for a show, and then something came up and we had a better idea for a show. We're going to go back to the first idea. Not the first idea was bad.
No.
We just thought, we want to talk about this instead. So we're going to cover 5 moments from the campaign that we are currently in. Our favourite moments, our best moments, and we're going to do it quite democratically and say that there is one for each of the party members.
There is.
Big disclaimer. Excuse me. Big disclaimer, there are 6 members of our party. However, Jamie, I'm sure you won't mind, you've recently joined the party. There's not been not many mega moments in the last couple of sessions, has there? We've not really done loads. So I'm sure you've got, on the next time we do one of these lists, I'm sure it'll all be Jamie, but he's not really been in the party long enough to have that memorable moment like the rest of us have. No. So Jamie hasn't got his moment. And obviously, the DM is responsible for it all, so all of these points are Lloyd's points for the DM.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Should we jump straight in?
Yeah. Let's jump straight in with number 1.
So, number 1, we're covering our good friend, Gimdrak.
Gimdrak, not Grimdrak.
Not Grimdrak.
As many people,
I think he's even called it that before.
I think he has.
Played by our good friend of the show, somebody you've met, our good friend Josh.
Yes. And this, let's try and set the scene a little bit of context before we get into the actual moment.
I'm going to say something straight off the bat.
Go on.
It wasn't a chimera.
Kind of was.
It was a manticore.
Yeah, well...
yeah, you can tell we've looked at these notes, can't you?
Chimera, manticore, both creatures that are lots of creatures meshed together, so there we go.
There you go.
You can see where my thoughts were.
Yeah, I just read it then, I was like, what?
Now, if I'm right in thinking, this happened in the first session or the second session?
I think this was technically the second... I think this was session 1.
Yeah.
Because we started the real early start of the story in session 0. Yeah. So we had session 0, and then at the end of session 0, we'd done character creation, we'd done backstory, we'd chatted about what we were going to do, and then we started, and then not long after that, we were end of the session, people had to go home, lists were here, taxes were here. Excuse me. I do apologise. I'll cut that out. And then after the start of the second session, we had everybody in. I think it was the first time it was a full party.
Yeah, everyone was there, wasn't
I think everybody was there. It was the first time we met Dee. Mm-hmm. It was actually the first time we met Gimdrak as well, because I know we started the beginning of the story. Josh had to go home.
Right, okay.
So we actually started the main campaign without him. So this was the first session that we'd met Gimdrak, the first session that we'd met Dee.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, we're currently going through I Spy a Peak, just so people know what campaign we're going. I know that sounds very basic for guys that have been playing it, and for guys that are here online telling you it, but our DM has got a knack for taking I Spy a Peak and then just chucking loads of homebrewy crap at it.
Making it into his own thing.
So it is I Spy a Peak, but it's sort of not I Spy a Peak at the same time. So yeah, that's what we're playing. So yeah, we were heading up... I can't remember the name of the place now.
No,
it was a windmill, was it?
It was a windmill, and it was on a small sort of hill, wasn't it?
Umbridge Hill.
There we go. We'll get there.
Hey, I've played this game before.
This isn't your first rodeo.
No way.
Exactly what I say at my second rodeo.
Never been to a rodeo.
Umbridge Hill.
Yes.
And there was a windmill atop the hill.
Yeah.
Remember, we were all at the base.
Yeah.
And we'd heard noises, disturbances coming from the windmill. As a party, we'd all decided...
We're going to sneak in.
You decided you were.
We're going to sneak in.
And we decided that we were going to try and sneak in to discover what the noises were.
Yeah.
Upon getting inside this windmill...
It's just straight up Zlatan, isn't it? It's exactly what he does.
Upon entering I think you entered first, didn't you? Was Brown?
I think you guys had arrived at it first. But because I was stealthing, so it's the first time I played Rogue, so I was trying to be a bit stealthy, learn how to stealth a bit better. So I was stealthing out because I think the point was we could hear noises inside and we knew something was outside.
Yeah.
So my plan was to try and sneak in and help whoever was on the outside.
Yeah.
I think you guys saw the creature first because you'd approached the thing first.
Yeah.
Or was it might have been Thanatar that reached it first?
I know we'd got you snuck in and you took a more sort of high approach, hadn't you?
Yeah.
And you were sneaking in that way, and we, especially with it being me and Gim, sort of being the self-elected tanks, we said we were going to go in, and as the door swung open, our DM greeted us with the knowledge, and I remember his exact words were, "Oh, it's a bit unfair you're fighting this, but there we go."
I think he'd not done a lot of prep that session, had he? So he opened. He might have literally turned the page to see what the beast was, and was like, "Ooh, this is going to end badly." Considering I'd nearly died in session 0 already, anyway.
Yeah.
So we're all a bit wary, and I think, considering this is one of our favourite. Just to put clarity, this was weeks ago. This was one of the first things we'd done, so that's why we're struggling to remember the details. But I think had you decided to try and talk to it? I think we found out it was sentient.
We found out it's sentient, and I did suggest we tried to talk.
Yeah. So you were like, in terms of it's brilliant. I think I was top of initiative like I usually am. I tried to sneak. I managed to sneak past completely undetected to the door. Got to the door to find the door was locked. Ruined my thieves' tools check, my picklock in. Yeah. So snuck to the door, but then couldn't get the door open.
Couldn't go through the door.
Meanwhile, I'm not convinced Thanatar was there. I think he was off. I think it was Rayeth.
Okay.
Anyway, Rayeth was getting ready to attack. Was getting his spells ready, getting his plan in place. You were trying to speak to it to get its attention, and then in the meantime, Gimdrak critted on a weak part of this manticore.
Yeah.
And killed it flat.
Killed it flat out.
Killed it. One-shotted it. I think he hit twice, because he did 2 attacks.
He did 2 attacks, and he did quite a lot of damage. If I remember, the manticore was suffering from a wound it had sustained prior
by the dragon, hadn't it? So it had like an ice wound sort of thing.
And it had been deduced that this was probably the place to hit it, which Gim decided to. And critted. And just killed it. And that was that.
It wasn't our first time we got into combat. We had a couple of encounters on the way. But it was the first quote-unquote boss. Mm-hmm. It was the first major battle we were getting into. We were all relatively new. Some of us were brand new to the game.
Yeah.
We're all very excited to get into combat, use our abilities, and then done. Just flat.
It was just done.
And the problem is, going forward, it's not the only time he's done it.
No, I know. And it is quite annoying. And I think probably to our DM's sort of fairness, I think he might have even thought, I might just knock a little bit of HP off. I might just try and make it...
To be a bit fair.
Just to try and make it fair, as I don't want to kill all the party on the second session. But I don't even think he was expecting, after taking a bit of HP off, to have one of them.
I can just remember, because there's a lot of us in our group, so that it's something we're getting better at, but some of us have got a habit of chatting while someone else's turn is going on. It's something that we brought up in a few episodes ago, saying please don't do this, and that's we can say that because we've experienced it. And I think I could just remember, I think I was talking to somebody just briefly, I turned around and Lloyd looked up and went, yeah, he's critted again. He's killed it. And we were like, but you told us it was going to kill us. He was like, yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought it would do.
He just killed it there and then.
Done and dusted. It was anticlimactic, but also brilliant.
I think it was, especially, I think we'd gone through this line of dialogue of trying to talk to it.
I think you were convinced, right?
I was trying to help the thing.
This is a sentient being.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big NPC. It's going to be integral to the story. Let's have a chat.
I was convinced it was someone that had been cursed, and we was going to, and then Gimdrak just cleaved it in twain.
You might have been right.
We'll never know now, will we?
It's dead. And then this isn't Rayef's best moment, but Rayef started looting the corpse for scales to make into armour of the dragon.
Yeah.
I think that was the first experience of our party that we got at full dickheadedness.
And this is when we should have known
what was about
that all
to happen.
the troubles that we faced going forward. As a party, not as people.
As a party.
As a party.
It was just a really... It's the best moment. It is the best thing. We actually asked our party members what they would like. And Josh forgot. Josh forgot he did this. It was the first thing he ever did in this game. And he forgot he did it. So we overruled him and we picked this one for him. But what a thing to do in your first boss battle.
It was amazing.
It had been... Think about all them games you've played where the end boss is also the first boss. And you get destroyed by it. Imagine if you'd have walked up to the first boss in Elden Ring that knocks you off the cliff and now you just kill it. Oh, okay. Next.
If there's a cheese mechanic for something in a game or anything like that, our cheese mechanic is Gimdrak. Throwing him in and he'll probably crit and kill it.
It did set the precedent for him just running in hell for leather.
Yeah.
Regardless of the plan, shouting "I'm a royal, I'm a lawyer, I'm a noble" while he's doing it.
And somehow, he comes out all right most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only once.
I think there was a moment where he was close. Was it when we had a battle?
Yeah.
And we thought we'd won, and he went, "Oh yeah, I'm only on 9 health." And then the boss turned up for this battle. We were like, "Well, Gimdrak's dead."
Yeah.
Wasn't. He survived.
Yeah. I think there's only been that one time that he's sort of
the best part of the thing about Gimdrak. And side note, I absolutely love the way that Josh plays him. Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic.
He's decided what he's going to do with it, and he sticks to it through and through.
Yeah, that is literally the definition of that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But the fact that we're describing Gimdrak, who's this big, tanky monster of a man that tanks the damage and does big damage, he's also a dwarf.
Yeah,
he's about this big.
And he plays it fantastically.
He does really well.
It gives me almost like Gimli vibes.
Yeah,
from Lord of the Rings.
I think that may be what he based it on.
Yeah,
yeah.
It gives me really big Gimli vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good work, Josh. We know you watch. We hope you're watching.
Better be watching.
So next, Wraith, played by our good friend. Should we call him Luke 1? There's 2 Lukes.
Yeah, the numbers don't mean that we prefer Luke 1 more than Luke 2. Let's just put that out there.
Let's just say one of them might die soon.
We'll get onto that later. So let's go with Luke 1, who plays Wraith, one of our resident spellcasters within the party. We have 2.
They're both great characters and great spellcasters. Wraith, Luke is the guy we've referenced before in that he came into our session, our campaign with no experience, no idea about it might even be fair to say what D&D was.
Yeah. And
within 3, even 4 sessions, he is obsessed.
Yeah.
He spends hours. Like, for example, we've had sessions where our DM, we've got to maybe the point where our DM wanted us to a little bit early, so we've had a chance to chat and that. And in that time, we've had a bit of a chat and a joke and a drink. Yeah. He spent researching his spells, finding out what they want to do.
Distinctly remember him sat there with the book.
Yes.
While we
surrounded by books. It's just he is 100% fall in love with the game, and his character is brilliant. He has a signature move.
He does have a signature move.
He does have a signature move.
One of the nice things we have with our 2 spellcasters is they both bring different spells to the table. It isn't that they both are doing the same thing. They're not both actually going both Eldritch Blast in a way, or they're both Fireball. They both are doing something different, which is quite nice.
Yes.
And what Wraith brings to the table, surprisingly, with him being a Dragonborn...
I didn't mention that. He's a Dragonborn.
It's fire! He brings plenty of fire. Insert a Johnny Cash.
We'll do that. I ain't got a license, but we'll do it.
Come get a GG.
Yeah. How long of something can you play before you have to crit? We won't do that.
He brings plenty of fire. And if you can count on one thing, it's that Gim will run into battle all hell for leather. And if you can count on another thing, it's that Wraith will set things on fire with burning hands.
With burning hands. There is... No, the one we're going to talk about now, and then... Oh, you could pick any battle we've been in. Yeah. And there will be a battle.
Burning hands was his go-to, I think, until he started using Fireball. Now I think Fireball is...
Yeah. He also, being a Dragonborn, he has his breath weapon.
Yeah.
Which he forgets he's got, until he's used all his spell slots, and then goes, oh, I've got my breath weapon, and destroys a mimic in one turn with his breath weapon. Not the thing we're going to talk about now. So there was a situation where we were tasked with escorting a what's the word I'm looking for? Cart full of materials and equipment from point A to point A. Point A to point B took us through this woods. Bran was up in the trees doing his usual scouting routine. Thanatar's imp was flying high above doing his scouting routine. D was trying to figure out who the hell he is. Still is. I'm not even taking a piss. I think Thanatar was asleep in the car, asleep in the car.
Yeah.
And we were attacked by a group of mercenaries, bandits, which we got through.
We did get through.
But very early on in the campaign again, nobody's not really got many abilities. It was a bit touch and go for a bit.
You got shot out of the tree, if I remember correctly.
I got shot out of a tree. I think, actually, I failed a dex save, and the tree snapped underneath me, and I fell out of the tree.
Oh, is that what it was?
And then I got shot while I was prone on the floor.
Ah, that would be it. I would have just said you got shot out of the tree. That sounded better than that.
If Bran is nothing else, he is honest.
I'll remember that.
And a dishonest pirate.
D will remember that. That's going in there. So we'd been ambushed by these bandits.
Yes.
They'd made their presence known to us via
Attacking
arrow
us.
fire and coming out and threatening us. And again, like I say, it was quite early on. So at this point in time to us, it was probably quite a big deal.
Yeah, I think we were at that point as well where we were like, oh, we just love combat.
Yeah.
Combat was a big thing early on.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And I think we kind of not... Mostly now when we get into a combat scenario, we try to come up with quite a good plan. We've got sort of a rhythm going on. We know what we're kind of doing as a party. And we probably didn't have that then.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say we were all trying to find our roles in the party.
And I think this was just... This move that Wraith pulled was just out of...
Oh, I've got this spell.
I'm just going to... We're in a forest and I can throw fire out my hands in a cone.
Yes.
Hey guys, do you mind if I just immolate this entire forest?
I think the real good thing about it was as well, because if I remember rightly, there were bandits on each side, and me and you had gone to one side.
Yeah.
I think Gimdrak had come our way as well. Thanatar was sort of in the middle playing support, which was a really good moment for him. And on the left side, Wraith was sort of on his own with 5 bandits around him.
I think it might have even been 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6. If people follow our Instagram, this was one of the first times we put game screenshots of the gameplay from Tailspire, it's awesome man, on our Instagram. So there are actually pictures of this. He's done it. There are more instances where he's done similar things. But then, from one turn thinking, oh shit, Wraith's over there on his own, to cut to 6 seconds later, and all 6 bandits are either dead or on fire. Yeah. It was a sight.
I think he'd killed probably about 80% of them, and the ones that didn't die were seriously burned and also on fire.
That it's just in the theatre of the imagination, you can just see this Dragonborn going fuck it, and just not even killing them, but setting half of a forest on fire.
Yeah, and that was.
And we were like, we need to get out of here pretty sharpish.
Really, it was a genuinely one of those moments that was just great.
Yeah,
just
that proper.
Didn't expect it. It wouldn't have. It didn't even cross my mind. I was too busy thinking about my character, and then all of a sudden he goes.
And to see a player who's again brand new to the game, not only cast it but roll really well.
Rolled really well.
It went proper. Just smashed it. Could not have pulled a better move in that moment. And you can see the enjoyment. It's like hitting a perfect volley, isn't it? Or, Or bowling that getting that strike. It's just it's satisfying. It was satisfying to watch and see the enjoyment and the excitement that he'd done it, and
he did it. Yeah.
Wraith from that moment has become a bit of a badass Dragonborn caster who just sets shit on fire. Yeah, it's good. Top work, Wraith. Who's next? Me.
Yeah.
Me. Bran. Now we've spoken a lot about our characters over the course of the last few episodes, and that's because we love our characters.
Yeah, of course we do.
And we were very excited to play. We're playing tomorrow night. It should be exciting again. Now, if you paid attention over the past few weeks, there's been an ongoing, still not been resolved. Bran and another member of the party, Thanatar, are a bit of
loggerheads, aren't they?
Bit of a loggerheads. Bit of a civil war type argument in that they both think they are right. They are both standing by what they believe in.
Yeah.
But neither, and because of that, neither's going to get back down.
No, they're not they're very firm in their beliefs and as to what's got them to that point.
And if anything, I know I am Bran, so I'm going to think this, and I'm going to think I think it's added an extra layer to our sessions.
Oh, 100%.
Because we've now got a almost another storyline that's come off.
Yeah.
Rather than, like we said at the start, with playing I Spy Peak, we roughly know what I Spy Peak is.
Mm-hmm.
We roughly know where it's headed, anyway. But now we've got this underlying current of, well, is it going to be a civil war type thing?
Mm-hmm.
Are they just going to go fight to it, or will one see the light the other way? One give cave to the other way?
I do think it's a bit of almost like a powder keg at the minute between the two of them. Like a genuine feeling of, is it just going to take that one little thing now to tip the scales over the edge, and they're both just going to have to duke it out?
We nearly got there in the last session.
It was very close, and you know there are, although we are a party and there's this sort of ongoing infighting, there's also the party's got its own little members that are slightly closer than others.
Relationships have formed, bonds have formed.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we said we've got 2 casters, and we'll talk more about it in a minute, but our 2 casters have sort of worked really well together, and have through this become this almost double act.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, through the experiences that they've shared and sort of the way battle's gone and that, Bran and Dee have become quite close. Gimdrak has recently started having more in common with Bran and Dee than maybe the Smith, who Bran used to think we don't really know where the Smith's loyalties lie, to put it.
No.
So it's all quite interesting. The reason I'm bringing it up again is because I would struggle to pick a moment, and that's not because Bran hasn't done any really cool shit. Bran only does cool shit, but I've also spoken about quite a lot of it. So I picked a little one. I might have mentioned this before.
I think this was one of the things that just added fuel to an already brewing fire, didn't it?
Yeah, this is chucking gasoline on the barbecue because you've got some, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was absolutely not needed whatsoever. It's bringing a flamethrower to a bonfire night. You ain't going to get anything for it. So, the reason these guys have fallen out is because we were at a Butterstraw Ranch. We found the owner. You guys know this. You've heard me talk about this before. We ended up killing the owner. Thanatar was dead against it.
Yeah.
Morally chooses to see the good in people and thinks that them owing him a favour is more valuable than their dead body. In this case, this dead body was worth 300 gold, so you make your own decision. Anyway, after that, we all decided to take a long rest in or around the ranch, and Bran and Dee got quite drunk, sat against a tree, and while Thanatar was burying said ranch owner quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Somberly and quite respectfully, the owner's prized cow came over, and I can remember Lloyd saying it. He just starts sort of not pawing because he's not got paws, but sort of almost pawing at the dirt and nudging it with his nose. To which Dee replies, "Rabbit, I bet you can't kill the cow."
Yeah. So
and in one hit, Bran
just took it.
Used sneak attack. Went full all out. Got advantage because I was next to an ally. Used sneak attack. Rolled 3d6. Did a hunter's mark it?
Probably.
Plus my 4d6 because of hunter's mark. Plus my attack from my bow. I've got my greater braces of archery.
Yeah.
I was adding like +9 to the roll. I rolled like a 50.
Just a cow.
And it was on a cow, which I think was the straw that broke the camel's back, which meant
definitely the arrow that broke the cow's
forehead.
Yeah.
It was a straight.
Yeah.
Not a major moment, but then the implications of that moment. I think we actually ended the session there.
I think we did, yes.
And then next session, we straight away Thanatar was like, yeah, Thanatar wants to talk to Bran.
Yeah.
And from there, this animosity between the two has formed. I think it's just, whereas some of the other moments we talk about are these big firework displays. I think I wanted to pick something which was a little bit more reserved, more of the match that starts the fireworks. We're going to see where this goes. After the last session, we are precariously balanced, where we are in battle. We're currently mid-combat when we get back into the session. And Thanatar has sent his familiar to aid Bran, which is awesome. But it's also a bit, what's going to happen?
A bit dubious, isn't it?
Oh, do we trust the...
It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, I think, in the long term. and see really where
I
it.
think we're both. I think in terms of characters, they're more than happy to go at it. I
Yeah.
think me and Luke are both very wary that we don't want one to kill the other.
I don't think it would get.
I
that
don't
far.
think it'd get to death, but you don't know.
I mean, it might.
It might do. Then we're gonna have to find a new caster, aren't we?
It's already committed to the fact you're winning. I like it. It's confidence
Yeah. Well, if Bram's nothing, he's confident
and honest.
and honest and a dishonest.
And a dishonest pirate. Right, okay. He's going to keep adding to his list.
He's got many titles. He has got many titles. Speaking of which, Thanatar. Right, we mentioned this a minute ago. Thanatar is a caster. He's a tiefling caster. He is
Played by Luke 2.
Played by Luke 2. Doesn't mean that he's inferior to Luke 1.
No.
Doesn't mean he's not. No, he doesn't. They're both awesome. Played by Luke. He is Luke is one of the members of the group that's played a lot before. Played a lot when he was younger. Knows the game inside and out. Knows the mechanics of the game very well. So he's very good. I think he set Thanatar up to be very beneficial when he casts a spell. So I think he's a warlock, isn't he?
He is.
So I think when he casts a spell, he casts a spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not messing about
Nope.
with his cantrips. He is killing people. So this moment is not exactly a massive moment, but there was a really cool part back in Butterskull Ranch while we were facing the trolls, where himself and Wraith were back to back in a corridor, just throwing spells out, and it was just really really cool.
Yeah, it's almost. It reminds me of it's something you'd get in almost like a John Woo action film. It should have been in slow motion with a camera slowly doing a 360 pan around them while they were just lobbing these spells out. It was very, very good.
I've seen in Bad Boys 2 when they're in the house and they're behind the wall. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You come into my house. It was just really badass.
It was good.
I think our party, I think everyone plays D&D's got this trait, but I think our party's quite good at visualising it.
Yeah.
And even though we have Tales Fire, so we have the visual things, it's not the same as seeing it animated with all this stuff. So I think in that moment, and this is why I chose to put this on the thing, because in that moment, I think we all saw it how you just described.
Yeah.
I think we all saw, add in the fact that Gimdrak was down the other end of the corridor facing 4 or 5 orcs on his own, while me and you were on a staircase battling this orc leader, this massive, it's an ogre I think, wasn't it? Or was it just a big orc?
I think he was a big sort of orc chieftain,
Like
wasn't
a
he?
chieftain, right? And so we're like, Bran's at the bottom of the staircase trying to get this sneak attack up the stairs. Dee's just gone full Clegane ball, spearing him down. I think at one point actually, and I'm sorry Thanatar, this is your moment, but this is too good to not mention. The chieftain threw you at me.
He did.
And I uncanny dodged out of the way.
Yeah. And I ended up hitting a wall.
So yeah. It looked cool.
It was very good.
It looked really, really cool.
Both, like I said, the spellcasters both bring something very different to the team.
Mm-hmm.
They both bring their own edge.
Yeah.
And they both play their own edges and the way they do stuff really well.
Yeah.
Well, one, if you've got them both back to back, one's spewing fire out of his hands, his mouth, he's throwing fireballs. The other one's casting sort of eldritch magic and commanding his imp.
Yeah, that fucking imp. I'm gonna kill that imp.
The imp does a very good job.
I think the imp has done more damage
I think the imp probably has done
than the rest of us. I'm gonna kill that imp.
But the spell cast together, you can I think you mould them both together because they both bring something fantastic to the team as a unit.
And I think whereas Bran and Dee have created this friendship, this double act, so to speak, this the buddy cops. Wait for the spin-off. That's going to be brilliant. The buddy cops, the comedy series between Bran and Dee. Because through the narrative of the game and the history and the sort of the experiences they're having together, sort of inside and outside combat, our two casters have found their sort of partner through combat. Bran and Dee have been, like I said, more narratively. There's been a little more interaction outside of combat, but these two finding that they work really well together in combat. And again, in the similar to Gimdrak that's done it a few more times, there's been other situations where these guys are not necessarily back to back. In the last session, we were battling something we're going to talk about in a minute, and Bran, as usual, tries to find a bit of range shots, so we can getting quite good at the archery. But then on top of this balcony, both casters were there again together.
Yeah, they were
sort of controlling the battlefield from afar. Luke Thanatar is very area of effecty, so he will put something down, which will then do some damage there. He likes conjuring quite a lot. He conjures something up to do some damage with him. Whereas, like we've mentioned before, other Luke I've just noticed both of our classes are the two Lukes. I pay attention. Luke 1, playing Wraith, is very on-the-spot spells. Your fireballs, your breath weapons, like we said before. So it's a real good clash of styles, which makes this real quite formidable. Mm-hmm. Might be one of the reasons Brand's not taking its blows yet, because some members of the party we don't know where their allegiances lie. Mm-hmm. Can Brand take on two casters that work hand in glove well together? Well, yes. So it's a bit, adds that other layer to it again.
It does, certainly.
Yeah.
We're moving on to the next one.
Well, the last one.
Yeah.
Best till last.
Best till last. Or, would now be a good time to tell everyone.
Would.
I'll let you do it, my friend.
So, I'm going to try and say it a bit weird. I say the same spiel every week. By now, you've realised that we like to shine the spotlight on other creators other than ourselves. This week, a little bit of a special one this week, as we are going to feature somebody that I've come to talk to really well over the last few days. His name's DM Ollie. He is, I think you won't mind me saying, he's a bit of a smaller creator, but just as good as everyone else we've spoken to. Just as good as us. To the point where you might see him on your screens very soon. But for now, here's our creator spotlight with DM Ollie.
Enjoy it, guys.
How did I get into Dungeons and Dragons? Well, during the COVID lockdown, I think I took the opportunity to try and sort of expand what I was doing, try and socialise a bit more. And I'd mentioned to my friend who I was playing a game called Divinity Original Sin with at the time. Great game, you should check it out if you like RPGs. Anyway, I was talking to him about how I'd always wanted to play, but I'd never had the opportunity. And he said, you know, he enjoyed playing, and he'd quite fancy trying to be a DM one day. So I just kind of gave him a little nudge, and said, "Do it. Let us be players in your campaign." So he got up me and then a few of our other friends together, and yeah, I created my first character, Baldo Craghart, the Hill Dwarf Warlock, and yeah, we just went from there. It was a product of lockdown, and I couldn't be happier about that aspect, I think. My favourite campaign that I've been part of is probably the one that I've homebrewed myself. It's set on the island of Arashal, a island shrouded in mystery that the Calyx Empire used as a prison island for their criminals. Upon arriving, the party discovered that there is a disease or curse or something of the like that has been infecting the inhabitants, and they became quickly infected upon arrival. Lots of things transpired, but it ended up that there had been a outlawed pantheon of druidic gods that I homebrewed myself as well, actually, that had been chained in interdimensional pockets. And so currently their current goal is to try and free these gods to bring balance back to the island. But there is the 9th god, which was rejected by the pantheon originally, that is sort of trying to thwart them at every turn. So yeah, I think it's my favourite just because it's the one I'm most invested in, and it's the one that I've been in that's been running for the longest. Yeah, it's been great fun. You know, we've got a half-orc cleric with amnesia. We've got a Way of the Drunken Fist pirate monk who's just multi-classed into a cleric, and then we have just an angry paladin. So it's good dynamic, and it's definitely a fun one to be part of. I can't wait to do each session that we do. Yeah, I think that one. What has been the best or most intense moment while playing Dungeons and Dragons? That's a really hard question. It's very hard to pinpoint a best or most intense moment, because there's been some real nail biters and some real big reveals in our games before. But I can do the funniest. The funniest would be in the first campaign we ever played. we attended a chapel at a town called Bolton, the very starting town that we were in, just to find some extra information about a cult that had been running riot and, you know, killing people and kidnapping people. And we inquired about if they had any ex-guards that had been buried in the cemetery there. And it turns out they had, and we got it in our heads that this was an important plot point. It turned out later that it was not at all, and it was just a passing remark by the DM. However, we decided it was something we had to do. We had to grave rob in broad daylight. So we started doing that with people in the cemetery, trying to do it stealthily in broad daylight. Me and the gnome, while the life cleric just shook their head at us. It ended up being that we got caught, obviously. I dived into the hole that we dug and Mask of Many Faces myself into a corpse, while the gnome sorcerer with me turned invisible and jumped in as well. And then they just stood and looked and started to fill the hole back in, so I was going to get buried alive. So I then pretended to be a zombie so that they wouldn't do that, and then they set me on fire. So I jumped in a bush to run away and set the bush on fire. And then, in an attempt to distract everybody else, the life cleric began to tap dance and cry hysterically, because that was the only thing the player could think of. And yeah, it was just a mental time. But yeah, it definitely sticks in the head as one of the stupidest things that's happened in a campaign I've been part of. Yeah, it was funny though. So my most recent character is Sigmund Horatio Ignatius Tarath. He is a human necromancy wizard. This is his spellbook. He usurped his mentor and caused him to die in a necromancy-based accident, and he is currently searching for the true meaning of death because he wants to try and change the laws of life and death. Essentially to immortalise himself, because he doesn't feel like he has enough time on the mortal plane to accomplish everything he wants. He is very pompous and arrogant and very much like, how do you not know who I am? And he tries to act older than he is. He's only a young man in his 20s, but he wants to be taken more seriously. Yeah, he's great fun to play. It's always fun to play a bit of a horrible person, because it's always good to give them that redeeming quality in which he really cares for his friends, even if he does call them his research assistants and things like that. Yes, he's a fun one to play. I enjoy it a lot. What IP would I like to see written in 5e? Anything that I'm interested in, I'd have a go at. Maybe Darkest Dungeon. That's my favourite game, although it is very Lovecraftian, so that's probably more Call of Cthulhu than 5e. Dragon Age might be a good one. You know, I don't think there's really anything like a Kunari in 5e. I guess maybe a Goliath, but it's a little bit different. So it could be interesting to play as one of those, and being the Dragon Age setting, because it's a very interesting world, it's a very rich world. But beyond that, yeah, I don't really care. I'm a DM most of the time anyway, so yeah. Is there a rule in 5e that I would change? Not necessarily a rule, but I think one thing to keep in mind is that wisdom is always a powerful stat to have. And unless you're doing it for roleplay reasons, there is no reason to use wisdom as your dump stat, because it's got so many different ability checks attached to it. So maybe a rework of the ability checks, you know, putting some things down as intelligence rather than wisdom, or adding in extra ones to make other attribute scores more of an option. Intelligence just ends up being a dump stat for basically everybody that isn't a wizard or an artificer. or a fighter or rogue if you're going to play one of their magic classes. But yeah, I think just a rework of the ability checks that are available, or changing some of them to suit other ones. But besides that, as a DM, you just use any rule you want to use and change ones you don't want. So I think it's good to have the guideline there, so I can't say there's anything that I would specifically change. So the D&D content I create right now is just little lip syncs or silly little videos on TikTok. They are great fun to make. I just started making them one day and it's kind of stuck a little bit. One day it would be amazing if I could start a Twitch or a YouTube, but for now it's just TikTok. But I'm really enjoying it, so I do hope that one day I can do that. It's just a financial thing right now, but I'll get there, I think. I think it's something I really want to do, yeah. You can currently find me on TikTok. My handle is KrakenMeUp. That's Kraken_me_up. If you do check me out, please give me a like and a follow and comment on my content if you enjoy it. And more importantly, don't forget to give the guys at NoCritsGiven like, subscriptions, comments, anything to get their algorithm working, because they definitely deserve it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for that, DM Ollie. Like I said before, keep your eyes peeled. He may be appearing on your screen sooner than you think in something we've got in the works. So keep an eye out with that.
I can't believe you're managing to keep it all in. It's fantastic.
What, keep a secret?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've usually told everyone by now.
That is very true.
Yeah. I mean, everyone on TikTok knows, but they don't. They don't. The people that need to know, and you'll know in due course. There's a spoiler. There's a teaser for you. Right, let's move on to our last point, and there is only one member of the party that we've not covered yet. He is Bran's right-hand man. We tried to come up with a nice moniker, like, we both quite like Game of Thrones, so we're like, right, the hand of the captain? No, that doesn't sound right. D! I was thinking of another nickname then, I was like, no, blank. Yeah, so D's, from the man himself, D's best moment.
D's best moment. So just to add a little bit of context before we get to my best moment.
Yeah.
Prior to this happening in the last session that we did, D's quite hit and miss with his attacks.
He's more miss than he is hit.
Yeah, right. He's definitely
unless he's punching
miss and miss. So there's this sort of ongoing sort of Tyson Fury theme going on at the minute with D. He normally misses his attack with his spell or his sword. So as an extra action, he ends up punching most things to try and contribute in any way that he can.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the occasions things like my inflict wounds, for example, do hit.
They hit.
They've hit.
They hit.
And they've hit.
Yeah.
And they've hit very well. Which leads us on to my favourite moment, which was using inflict wounds. And I think, if I remember correctly, we were at a thunder lightning circle.
I think it was just before that. We were outside the manse, if you remember, because we'd done the fight with the vine creatures inside, and then Lloyd had said, "Oh, brilliant, you're out of combat." And then, as you come out of combat,
that was it.
You hear, did a lightning bolt strike the tree?
It was.
And then outside the front of the manse, you hear noises.
But yeah.
And then we went to that was the end of the
session.
session.
Was the end of the session.
Next session,
we
went
out of the manse and was greeted by boars.
Well, one massive one to be exact.
There was a massive boar. A massive boar. With veins as blue as the most incandescent lightning you could imagine, wasn't it?
Sparks coming off of its tusks.
Yeah.
And
this was an avatar of one of the many gods in the D&D pantheon. And it was there to put an end to our adventure. As a party, I think this was the time where the casters had taken to the roof, hadn't they?
Yeah, the casters. I was with the casters on the roof because I tried to get a bit of range, and I personally had climbed down some rubble.
That was it.
And was sort of like if you imagine a wall, halfway in a little alcove bit, I think I'd cast on it was marked.
You did.
I'd not got sneak attack, but I'd hit it. I'd done a minuscule amount of damage, and then on its first turn, I took a fucking load of damage off that lightning strike.
It threw some lightning at you and knocked you back into the building.
Yes. I forgot to uncanny dodge, but
and the party had, I think, Gimmed ran in, done a bit of damage as he does.
Yeah.
The spellcaster had thrown some spells. As per we've mentioned with initiative, we haven't normally mentioned that I normally end up at the back end of initiative as well, normally going last.
You do roll really badly in all forms of combat. You roll quite badly.
I don't know what it is. I'm starting to think they give me dodgy dice.
He picked his own dice.
Got into melee range, and I was determined to use inflict wounds. Bit of context: D is currently wielding a sword and a shield. D's sword can be ignited through speaking a moniker that's very close to him at the moment with the story is going down, and ignites his sword. I'd already done so prior to going into combat. I'd got close enough to use inflict wounds and decided that's what I was going to do. And I threw those dice and they hit. And I was so excited.
I've never seen someone so happy.
I know.
I think. Is this the first time inflict wounds have connected?
I don't think it. I'm going to say no because I think I have done it before.
I can't remember. Then again, I don't know. I seem to think it was. Or had you done inflict wounds before and then rolled the damage quite badly?
I think I rolled the damage badly.
Yeah, so you hit but did a minuscule amount of damage, but this time everything fell into place.
And I was determined that much that it'd hit, so I'd cast it at like my highest level, so I'd got an extra dice worth of damage in there.
Yeah.
And then the damage dice got thrown, and they were pretty. I think I'd crit as well, hadn't I?
You had, actually. Did you not? Yeah, natural 20 did. What a way to go.
It was a crit with plenty of damage for dice because it's inflict wounds, and I think we were pushing the 40s, 50s.
Must have been. I'll be honest with you, I don't think Lloyd even made you count it.
No.
I think he just looked and went, yeah, how do you want to
looked at me and said, how do you want to kill it? And that was my time to make sure that I'd killed it in a really fun way.
Now, for me personally, this is where the flavour of how you killed it was the cherry on top. Because it was just the way, because you sort of said, right, give me a second, thought about it, and then just went for it, and you went off like Brennan Lee Mulligan himself. There's your reference. No, but it was good. It's just the way you were like, you describe. I'm not even going to take it away from you. If you want to describe it yourself, go for it. It was just beautiful.
So, inflict wounds is hit. DM looks at me and says, how do you want to do this? It was took a couple of seconds to have a think, and decided that with the power of the necromantic power of inflict wounds, the flames along these swords slowly change from your normal ripples of red and yellows and oranges. That was good.
I wasn't even going to mention that.
The colours changed to greens and purples and blacks and greys, and the flames became this much more sort of necromantic colour that you'd associate. And he brings his sword down to the forehead of this beast, but doesn't quite cut into it with the depth that you'd expect. Rests his blade sort of on the crevice of his forehead, and the flames slowly start to dimmer down. And as the flames have dimmered down, the veins that were pulsing blue along this beast started to slowly turn black, and that just fed all the way through this creature's body, this black necromantic power, rotting it from the inside. And it just dissipated.
Yeah. I imagined it. Have you seen Harry Potter films?
You know I've never seen a Harry Potter film.
No, just like, or what did you say that live on the... You're using a Harry Potter glass. Well, in the Harry Potter films, 1, got it wrong. 2, when Voldemort dies at the end, spoiler, oh god, spoiler, you don't know that, do you?
I don't need to watch them now, do I?
Anyway, he sort of flicks, bits of him flick apart, like ashes of a fire, and then slowly till nothing there. And that's what I envisioned, that as you poisoned it with this inflict wounds, all of its veins changed, and then slowly it just started flaking apart. Brilliant thing about this was the second time, the first time being when we fought the Manticore. Lloyd went, yeah, you're not getting out of this one. This one's going to kill you. And we were like, well, it didn't.
And I think every time now we've had that, it's more of galvanised our DM to go, well, I need to think of something that is going to kill
I
them.
am fairly confident we could take on the dragon next. The one where they all died to the dragon.
I think it's going to be very interesting.
I don't even know if we're going to get there yet. I think we definitely left the best moment of the campaign to the end.
Yeah.
Because I think everything added together there, like you said, it was a cool moment in itself. You add in the fact that you'd missed a lot of attacks. You add in the fact that D is on this war path to kill people till the world is right, but really hasn't been able to kill anybody. Apart from, this is worth noting, I didn't kill the farmer. You killed the farmer on my orders. So Thanatar, if you've got a problem with anyone... But yeah, hadn't been able to kill anything. Had sort of missed his roles. Was going through, was almost bringing in a depressed state when he wasn't attacking things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Didn't have depression, but just like kept missing his attacks. Has bought a trident, hasn't used it or hasn't hit with it.
No, I've thrown it.
Yeah, it comes back to your hand now.
It does come back.
And then this last time, literally the last thing. Well, not last thing.
Just a toy, really, because it doesn't actually hit anything. So I just throw it through.
Like a yo-yo.
Yeah, it just comes back.
Please stop. That'd be awesome. Just sat there while he's playing with his fucking imp. just stop. Just before the imp comes back to your hand. But it was a really everything sort of aligned for that moment. And D got his big kill.
It was really good.
And then he went off into the sunset happy.
It was. I'm looking forward to hopefully hitting some more stuff.
Yeah, I've got a feeling we're heading towards the god itself, if I'm honest.
Hey, that's fine.
We're now heading towards a circle of thunder.
I'm down.
Let's just kill a god. That's what we do. Bam. By any means. So
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So guys, that's our top 5. Our 5 big moments from our campaign so far. I promise you, in the next time we do this, there will be points from Jamie. There will be points from Lloyd, our DM. There will be points from everything. Thank you for watching. Obviously, you watching means we get to keep doing this. We can't do this without you guys, so we do appreciate it. Thank you to everyone on TikTok that's been recommended us recently. That hasn't gone unnoticed. We're quite shocked to see people actually suggesting people watch us. We can't like us and we suggest that you watch us, but the fact that you guys are doing it is fantastic.
Really, really good.
Make sure you check TikToks out, please. As you know, we've got 2. There is the main one, the NoCritsGiven one, and then Mando Crits has got his own little thing going on, little side project. Really, really good. You should check that stuff out.
I'm sure there'll be some
names
linked somewhere. It's not me that does all the magic afterwards, so.
I know I've got to time that right now, haven't I? We are very, very good at what we do.
I'm expecting like Sky Sports level of.
I can do that.
Oh, fine. Easy.
Yeah, next week. What are we talking about next week? We don't know. Well, we do. We've got a nice episode planned for you next week, so we'll enjoy that. We can say something?
No, I was more than happy to say episode next week. Just a bit of fine tuning, but apart from that,
yeah, we do. I hope you like the way we do our podcast. I sit here thinking, well, we've gone off the rails a little bit, but I think that's what adds to it. I hope. Yeah. Yeah, guys. I'll see you next time.
Take it easy.